Cold outside, but take a look at this. That's surfers in Duluth making the most out of the high winds today on Lake Superior. The sub-zero wind chills didn't stop them from putting on their wetsuits and hitting the water. In fact, they say they're the best waves in years. Good afternoon. I'm Stacy Van Dyke. Today is a first alert weather day, and Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson is here to tell us what we can expect this evening. Hutch?
Stacy, glad to see some folks are out enjoying the weather. If you can't beat it, join it, but please be careful. We have dangerous cold out there. As we take a look at the FM area, we certainly look like the winter wonderland across the valley. Air temperatures have been falling. We've been in the teens below throughout the afternoon, and enough wind to continue with wind chill that's dangerous. Wind chill warning for most of our counties now as we go through the overnight. That's our first concern, but Friday brings more. Much more on that in a second. Let's look at the current conditions as far as wind chills go. We have 30 to 40 below wind chills. Anywhere you see the charcoal colors here, we're at 35 to 45 below wind chills right now. A closer look, Devil's Lake 40 below, Can Do at 41 below, Langdon 36 below, with Cooperstown 41 below zero for your wind chill. Likewise, that's what we're seeing in Valley City. Things a little less windy off to the east, and therefore your wind chills not quite as biting. We have a winter system that's off to the west. It's going to make its way into our area. It's going to bring a warm up, as we've been talking about for Friday, but Friday will have some serious challenges. The Arctic cold in the morning, followed up by potential ground blizzard thanks to south winds, and yes, a fresh shot of snow on Friday. I'll get to all of that in your hour-by-hour forecast in a minute. But for tonight, look at these temperatures: clear skies, calming winds, and air temperatures will be as cold as they've been all season for many areas, including here in Fargo. A shot at seeing 31 below zero by daybreak. Stacy, I'll have details on how low we go, those wind chills, and hour-by-hour details on Friday's wind, blowing snow, and potential ground blizzard causing travel concerns. All right, thanks so much, Hutch. New information on a missing woman. As the search intensifies, more agencies are now lending a hand to the Richland County Sheriff's Office. The FBI, Montana Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and U.S. Border Patrol are now assisting in the search for 26-year-old Caitlin Berry, who was last seen December 21st and hasn't been seen since. Caitlin is the daughter of Grand Forks Assistant State's Attorney. Sheriff John Dennison says it remains a missing persons case, but the office is working to find out if foul play is suspected. Officials say Caitlin has a slender build. She's 5'4", 100 pounds. She has green eyes and brown hair. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Richland County Sheriff's Office at the number on your screen, 406-433-2919. New for you at 4, the man accused of throwing a fatal punch that killed a father of 6 is slated to go to trial next month. 36-year-old Tomas Cervantes is charged with federal felony manslaughter and aggravated assault in the death of 53-year-old Roberto Balboa. The alleged assault happened in August at the Speedway Events Center in West Fargo, where court documents say Balboa was struck in the face, knocked unconscious, and hit his head on the concrete floor. Documents say Cervantes claims self-defense. Balboa died after a week in the ICU. That trial is set to begin at February 8th. The city of Audubon, Minnesota is issuing a boil water advisory because it says bacteria in the water could make you sick. The city is telling people to not drink, brush their teeth, or cook with that water. They say it's because the city lost water pressure this morning, causing the problem. The advisory will be in place for at least 24 hours, but the city says it could take 2 days to fix. More than 2,000 traffic citations were issued across North Dakota during law enforcement's latest Click It or Ticket campaign. State police say between November 1st and December 16th, 731 people were cited for not wearing their seatbelt. 26 were for child restraint citations. They also issued almost 800 speeding tickets and about 200 other traffic citations. Police say in 2020, 60% of motor vehicle deaths involved someone not wearing their seatbelt. The U.S. Postal Service has requested an exemption from the Biden administration's vaccine or test mandate, saying if it's not granted, there will be major disruptions to mail delivery. The Deputy Postmaster General says requiring Postal Service workers to comply with the new rules is likely to result in the loss of many employees, either by leaving or being disciplined. The OSHA rules are set to take effect Monday, but the agency has said it would not issue citations for violations until February 9th, or as long as an employer is making efforts to be compliant. The Biden administration's vaccine rules are facing numerous legal challenges. The Supreme Court is slated to hear arguments this week on whether to block the mandate after business groups and GOP state attorneys general sued the federal government.
If you're planning to go to the cities this weekend, you'll need to bring a mask. Minnesota's two largest cities moved to reimpose mask requirements in businesses and public places. That requirement takes effect in both cities at 5 o'clock this evening. Some businesses say that with a citywide mandate, patrons won't blame them for enforcing safety measures.
We've got rapid COVID tests to test our staff more often. It may be that we start mandating literally COVID tests on a weekly basis. We're going to do everything we can.
Minnesota reported more than 4,000 new COVID cases statewide and 71 deaths. More than 10,000 people in the state have died of the virus since the pandemic began. On Tuesday, Governor Tim Walz announced plans to open 3 more COVID-19 community testing sites as the Omicron variant stresses the state's testing capacity. A CDC panel is now recommending a COVID vaccine booster for children ages 12 to 15. The panel cites rising infections in teens and young adults and a troubling increase in pediatric hospitalizations. The vote comes just 2 days after the FDA cleared the extra doses for the same age group. The CDC's director is expected to quickly sign off on that recommendation.
I remember the moment when we were pushed out of this chamber for security reasons. I remember the word of one staff member, Lee, who yelled out, "Take the boxes, take the boxes."
Today, the nation pauses to reflect on the 1-year anniversary of the January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. 5 people died as a result of the attack, and more than 700 people have been charged from crimes stemming from that day. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with a look at the commemorations in Washington.
These images from 1 year ago when rioters attacked the U.S. Capitol will be forever etched in the minds of the lawmakers and everyone else here on January 6th.
Those of us trapped in the gallery, we lived it. Ducking, crawling under, over railings, hands, knees, the sounds, the smells.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney joined his daughter, Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney, on the House floor for a moment of silence. The president and vice president came to Capitol Hill to mark the solemn occasion.
The American spirit is being tested.
In fiery remarks, President Biden put the blame squarely on his predecessor.
For the first time in our history, a president had not just lost an election, he tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power as a violent mob breached the Capitol. But they failed. They failed.
Former President Trump canceled a planned news conference but released a statement calling today's events, quote, political theater and repeating false claims about the 2020 election.
Donald Trump today continues to spread his poisonous vial about the big lie.
Senate Democrats took to the floor to mark the anniversary and demand passage of voting rights legislation, while emotional support dogs like Douglas made the rounds to put people at ease outside the chamber. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And this afternoon, lawmakers will join demonstrators at a rally and march in Washington to call for voting rights legislation. That'll be followed by a candlelight vigil at the Capitol. Law enforcement used new resources to track down suspects involved in the attack, and professionals say they've relied on help from the public, including a group of amateur detectives.
People began joining groups and collaborating with each other. That ultimately led to some really remarkable discoveries and successes.
Some of them worked with images, just focused on tracking people in the crowds. Others focused on building timelines or geolocating individuals on maps of the Capitol. FBI case agents continue to ask for the public's help. There still remain more than 250 people wanted by the FBI for allegedly assaulting federal officers. Ultimately, the number of arrests could more than double. A lawsuit in last June's South Florida building collapse is set for trial in 2023. The fall of the Surfside beachfront high-rise claimed 98 lives. Just yesterday, a judge ruled the start date as March 2023, 6 months later than planned. The delay is in response to giving more time to investigate the cause for the 12-story collapse. The lawsuit includes wrongful death claims and compensation for people who lost their homes and belongings. Meanwhile, a memorial is being planned to remember those killed. The incident is considered one of the worst building collapses in U.S. history. Energy officials in North Dakota say they're optimistic for a big year ahead as people started traveling again. Last year, the demand for oil increased, but many companies played it safe to prevent having too much supply, and the result is higher prices. The industry got a big win on January 4th at the expense of green advocates when it was announced leasing on federal lands would resume after being stalled by the administration last year. North Dakota will also be challenging the EPA on its proposed emission rules for existing oil and gas facilities. The number of Americans signing up for unemployment benefits rose last week. According to the Labor Department, first-time filings for weekly jobless claims increased by 7,000 to 207,000. The monthly jobs report comes out tomorrow. Buyers beware. Still to come.